Hi, welcome to Chapter 10. Today we'll cover stimulants. We'll look at major stimulants like cocaine, methamphetamine, and amphetamine, and also minor stimulants such as chocolate, tea, coffee, and energy drinks. As you recall from Chapter 3, the schedule of controlled substances are Schedule 1 through 5, and designer amphetamines are Schedule 1, and this includes substances such as ecstasy or GHB. Schedule 1 substances are those that have no medical value according to the federal government and cannot be prescribed or used in medical settings. Schedule 2 substances such as amphetamine, methamphetamine, and cocaine are substances that have high abuse potential and are tightly controlled in the medical setting with regard to prescription use and use in medical procedures. So again, amphetamines have high abuse potential because they cause such euphoria and have many levels of positive reinforcement, such as amphetamines allow you to be awake, alert, not be hungry, not sleep, therefore making the user feel more productive and being very task-oriented. So there's a lot of instrumental amphetamine use and abuse. And again, amphetamines are both legally and illegally obtained, and it doesn't matter if the substance is legally or illegally obtained. Both substances have the same high abuse potential. Next, let's look at a little history of amphetamines. So, amphetamines were first synthesized by a guy named Adeliano in 1887, but it wasn't until about 30 years later that amphetamines were tried on animals and then self-administered to a scientist that realized that amphetamines, when inhaled or taken orally, dramatically reduce fatigue, increase alertness, and give you a sense of confidence and euphoria. Shortly after this, the Benzedrine inhaler came on the scene that was used for nasal decongestion. Let me forward a slide so that you can see a picture of the Benzedrine inhaler. And I'm real fond of vintage advertisements and posters, so we'll share them whenever I can as it relates to substance use. So here you see a very happy, smiling, innocent child inhaling Benzedrine. Let's go back. So the Benzedrine inhaler was widely used over the counter and also abused, and because of that was moved to prescription only in 1949 and then removed completely from the market in 1971 because of its high abuse. Amphetamines in general were widely used and are widely used presently, and they do not discriminate. We see everyone from truck drivers to housewives to young people abusing Adderall for study purposes. We also see, like in the morphine documentary, that some substances have been really important milestones in our medical history, right? With morphine in its use for battlefield wounds, and also amphetamines were used in World War II and the Korean War to counteract soldier fatigue. Again, the central nervous system is greatly influenced by amphetamines, and depending on the individual, the dosage, and frequency of use, the individual may feel fear, anxiety, panic, or paranoia. We may also see the fight or flight response. That's the response that we have when we're faced with a fearful, intense crisis or situation where we engage or we run away. We often see this play out on TV or other media platforms where someone under the influence is acting crazy, running from the cops, or engaging in violent behavior or other high-risk behavior that puts themselves or others in danger. The amphetamine, it really can take a strong hold on the individual and has a high abuse potential, whereby when somebody starts, the positive reinforcement, it exists on many levels, thus perpetuating the use and the cycle, and the addiction sets in and really takes hold of the individual. Behavioral stereotypy, this is repetitious thoughts or actions. We may have seen this before, where somebody may take apart something or clean the house for hours. It's repetitious thoughts or actions where you're doing something for hours on end or thinking about something over and over again. So what are the medical uses of amphetamines? Amphetamines can be prescribed to treat narcolepsy, which is a sleep disorder, and also ADHD, which affects 4 to 6% of children and adults. Amphetamines are also used in weight loss, and we see that individuals may start off using the correct prescribed dosage of a substance and then move into abuse, where they're taking more of the substance or perhaps taking their prescription in addition to getting drugs off the street as well. We also see diversion of prescriptions, whereby a family member may be taking somebody's Ritalin or weight loss pill. This happens often. In substance abuse treatment, women talk about weight loss being a main reason for starting to use amphetamines or stimulants in general. And again, they may have started taking it as a prescription and then moved from prescription use to abuse to street drugs. And men also use weight loss amphetamines as well. I think that women more so report using stimulants for weight loss, but men definitely suffer from body image issues and weight issues. This is a public service announcement by Partnership for a Drug-Free America, just demonstrating how sucked up and unhealthy, scary skinny you can get from crystal or stimulants in general. This guy looks pretty scary, and we do see people coming into treatment looking really sucked up. Again, some of the dangers of using prescribed amphetamines are abuse and addiction, and amphetamines are also really hard on your heart. They increase your heart rate, your blood pressure, and cause damage to blood vessels, veins, and arteries. Amphetamine misuse, abuse, and addiction are still very prevalent, especially in Southern California. Amphetamine or methamphetamine is often named as the primary drug of choice upon entry into substance abuse treatment. Several years ago, meth labs were rampant in all kinds of Southern California areas, Inland Empire, desert areas. The precursor chemicals to make methamphetamine were really easy to get from the drugstore, over the counter, and also chemical retailers and wholesalers. The Comprehensive Methamphetamine Control Act of 1996 helped to reduce these clandestine meth labs, whereby it's no longer legal to purchase these large quantities of chemicals from retailers and wholesalers, and also some substances that contain ephedrine or pseudoephedrine have moved from over the counter to behind the counter, where the purchaser has to sign a log and the log is tracked. It's also important to note that the chemicals used in the manufacture of methamphetamine, they're very dangerous. They're very dangerous to people who live in that home, also the neighbors, law enforcement officers, and the environment. There have been reports where homes that were once meth labs, even after the residents had moved out, the meth lab was shut down, cleaned up, that there is still toxic chemicals remaining in that environment that pose health risks to the new occupants of that property. So those illicit drug labs that were once rampant in Southern California have now largely been replaced by Mexican drug cartel operations. So how does one take amphetamines? Or in my experience, at my agency, it's methamphetamine, which is the primary drug of choice upon treatment entry. You can take it orally, you can snort it or nasal inhalation, you can also shoot it or intravenously, you can also smoke it. My population primarily reports smoking it, followed by snorting it, followed by shooting it. Let's summarize the effects of amphetamines or methamphetamine. What does it do to your body? So at lower doses, it increases your heart rate, blood pressure, you're not hungry, it increases your breathing, you're not sleeping, and as the dosage increases, you'll experience sweating, dry mouth, perhaps convulsions, fever, chest pains, and ultimately you could die from methamphetamine overdose. In your mind, low doses, again, you're not tired, you're feeling euphoric, you have a sense of confidence, you're very alert, you're talking a lot, and at higher doses, you get more agitated, irritable, paranoid, not trusting others, that behavioral stereotypy that we talked about, and at higher doses, hallucination and psychosis. You can only imagine what being up for days on methamphetamine does to the mind and the body. Methamphetamine also causes severe tooth decay, and this is from not only having a dry mouth and perhaps dehydration, but also the chemicals that are contained in methamphetamine. These are some pretty scary pictures. This is a series of mug shots of a woman who abused methamphetamine, and you see here over the years, I believe this is about a 10-year span or so, that her physical appearance drastically changed. Methamphetamine is really hard on the body and the mind. It also causes cognitive deficits over chronic long-term use. When you stop using methamphetamine, some of those effects will improve and some may not, such as memory impairment. I think that somebody posted this picture trying to be funny, but this picture is really sad in that this guy has no teeth, and I believe that that's probably a pretty serious burn from a lab explosion. So yeah, this picture is definitely not humorous. It's pretty sad and devastating. These are a couple of makeshift meth labs. One looks like it's in a home, the other one looks like it may be in some type of office building or something. This concludes part 1 of your stimulant lecture. Thank you for your attention.